Sitecore Experienced, Episode 9, recorded October 16th, 2015.
Welcome to Sitecore Experience.
Sitecore Experienced, a video podcast to showcase information related to Sitecore for the benefit of the Sitecore community.
Welcome back to another episode of Sitecore Experienced. I'm co-host Jamie Stump.
And I'm Mark Servais.
And we're glad to have you back with us. We've had you especially have had an exciting month. You attended the MVP Summit recently. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, I was a little late to the festivities. I came kind of in the middle of day one, so I missed a lot of good stuff. But very worthwhile. The benefits of being an MVP are you get a lot of great information, and no doubt that was definitely fed to us. Did some great stuff, met some great people that I didn't get to have a chance to meet at the previous MVP Summit, and overall just a good time and a lot of stuff to absorb.
Awesome, very good. I know you can't say much, but some exciting things coming down the pike. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, what would you expect from Sitecore, right? There's always something coming, and I think it's public, and I'm gonna pretend it's public, and if it's not, well, I'll get in trouble. But I believe that 8/1 is coming out on the 20th
of October.
Of this month. Yeah, so there's going to be some good stuff in there. They talked about it at SUGCon. I did not attend SUGCon. I wasn't able to. I heard that was a fun and worthwhile event.
It sounded like it.
Yeah, for the most part. Some crazy pictures, some things going on. But overall, I think it was a well put together community conference. So good job to Akshay and Mike Reynolds and Brain Jocks and Hedgehog for getting that all together. So
absolutely, I imagine it is a mountain of work. So definitely kudos to you guys for organizing that.
Yep. So and then we'll see what happens next year or the year after, depending on a symposium or another SUGCon. So,
yep.
But I heard it was well worthwhile. So, it's New Orleans. What do you do?
Have fun, right?
Or pet a gator. or feed a cat to the gator. One of the two. So, well, that's essentially it. So
yes.
It is what it is.
All right. So, I think we'll be with some formalities here. We in our last podcast, we talked about how we're going to be closing the doors for a little bit, and we had given a survey and sort of took back the responses, and the responses hinted that, obviously our shows are a little long, so I think we're going to jump straight to the main topic, if that's all right with you.
Let's hit it.
I hope everyone is ready, because this is an epic intro. Today's guest needs no introduction to Wisconsin law enforcement, but to us it may be necessary. In the past, he has been referred to as one of the brightest minds out of Green Bay, Wisconsin, which is a lot like picking out the smartest cow in a butcher shop. Mark is a closet musician, introverted comedy writer, a bad example for children and the elderly, a second-place champion at the 1990 Wisconsin DECA conference winner. That makes no sense. We're going to go with it. The second-place winner at Quincy, Illinois 1994 Boom Fest in the 0 to 100 watts category, and he can eat 2 boxes of Kraft macaroni and cheese in one sitting, which surprisingly has no awards associated to such a feat of strength. But maybe it is a Darwin Award worthy feat.
I think so.
Mark's career spans between the age of 25 and 30, which is the past 3+ decades. Mark started writing Zork-like games on his Apple IIe before diving into the exciting and energetic world of business software on the IBM AS400. Wow. When Mark finally drank the Kool-Aid around Microsoft Technologies, he hasn't looked back, and he is now the Director of Software Research and Development at Xenium. He is a Sitecore MVP and also now a recently recognized hand model. So let's see those hands. You're such a liar. I personally could go on and on about the rest of Mark's accomplishments, but only if I talked really, really slow, which I have been accused of in the past. Welcome to the elite Sitecore Experienced Podcast Presenters Club, Mr. Mark Servais.
How you guys doing? only 9 of us, and there probably won't be any more than 9. So
yes,
all right.
It is exclusive.
Oh, it's so exclusive. You know, we should have jerseys printed off is what we should do, right?
Okay, you spend your money.
Yeah. For the 9 people. Only 9 people. So,
you know what? In that huge, long intro,
yes,
you failed to mention what you will be speaking on.
I know, because nobody cares. No, everybody probably stopped watching by now after that. Like, oh my God, this is going on forever.
It was quite the epic intro.
It was. Well written. Well written. And so, well, we're going to be talking about Speak. And we're not going to talk about a beginner's guide or best practices, because I don't know any best practices. So we're really, I'm entitling this, Doing the Unspeakable, Thinking About Playing Outside the Sandbox with Speak. And one of the things I got to do at the MVP Summit is hear about Speak, say some words about Speak to other people who were talking about Speak.
So you spoke about Speak.
I spoke about Speak. Some other people spoke about Speak. Yeah, it's about as far as I can go with it. But I did get a lot out of that speaking about Speak. And my progress with Speak, and, you know, in comparison with some of the things that Sitecore is doing with Speak, and some things that are coming with Speak in the roadmap. And, yeah, a lot of Speak for me, really. But I missed the main Speak presentation because I didn't get there on time. So,
But the Packers won.
The Packers did win that night. It was a rainy, cold night. My son enjoyed it very much. I guess I'm throwing up a picture right now, even though you and I can't see it at this moment. But, yeah, no, it was a good time. It was, you know, I never like to really miss an MVP summit. But this was well worth it. So, yeah, you know, I mean, I got there. Nobody left. Nobody locked the door. They let me in. You know, so all good.
In fact, I believe you told me that we were part of a montage video and also an answer to a quiz question.
Yeah, they had a little Sitecore quiz for the MVPs. Mr. Dan Sullivan won. Mr. Nick Wesselman came in second. I think Sitecore MVP Pillow. Yeah, Sitecore MVP Pillow came in third. Apparently, I don't remember. But yeah, we had we were part of a delightful intro that Peter shared with me. Peter Brinkman shared with me after the conference, because I obviously wasn't there to see it, which I probably would have been humbled and you know, quiet like I usually am when those things come up. And we were a part of a quiz question, which I was quiet and humbled when it came up. So, what the name of our podcast was, and there were some people that got it wrong. So,
I can imagine, since we have all of 5 viewers.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly, right? All right, so, you know, that's all I can say about the MVP Summit and Speak. But we're going to talk about my experiences, and I'm going to show you some ugly today. And I hope showing you guys some ugly will kind of give you some ideas of, you know, when you start straying outside of the controls that I would Speak and you start going on your own, definitely doable. You have to proceed with caution. And we'll kind of go through what that looks like today. I got some examples. And we're going to freehand this, but I do have the Martha Stewart Easy Bake Oven compilation of it. So if we run into a problem, I'm just going to pull out of that and make it go faster.
That sounds wonderful.
All right. So here we go. You saw the thing with the thing. So why do we care? And we should. Now, this is going to be a little silly on my part because that's how I entertain. But really, we're going to talk about what Speak is and why it's really here. We're going to actually look at real business cases that will turn out to be not a real business case, and it'll make perfect sense once we get to the demos. I'm going to talk about what I learned and how it hurt, really. And like I said in the beginning, what this really isn't, if you're looking for a beginner's tutorial, I'm going to share some links out there. There are some really good things that people have done for a beginner's tutorial. Not that a beginner couldn't do what I do, because I'm a simpleton. However, it's not really geared to now class. We take the page settings and we put it in. That's not happening. And best practices, I'm going to break every possible best practice in the world right now. Because we're just going to get this done. So, and really, to be honest, and I'll talk about it in a little bit, right now the best practicing is kind of like the Wild West. It's a wide open range right now. There are some things that kind of carry over from obviously the tech stack, right? But as far as real best practices for Speak, I don't think anything's really been published yet. So I think it's what feels good and what is maintainable and feels good is really the kind of the gut check to go by. So, all right. So, don't be scared is the thing here. So really, I mean, I've talked to some people who haven't tried Speak. I'm like, I've been meaning to get to that, but So really, you're looking at a facade over a nice JavaScript medley stack, with CSS and HTML5, right? Mm-hmm. Sitecore put a flavor over top of it and controls over top of that. And I kind of reduced that a little bit, but there's a lot of work put into this on Sitecore's part, and as you play with it, you'll understand that. So, what you really need to think about here, and this is the stupidest GIF ever, just keep shuffling along. And this is all I could find for the word shuffling. And it's really sad. So, and you know what? You're going to spend a lot of time on this. This is not going to be something that you're going to go, well, I got this in an afternoon. And if you do, congratulations, smarty. But to really kind of go through it and get your hard knocks, there is documentation, there is videos like I stated, but they are few and far between. They're a little lax in some places, and you're figuring things out on your own. So, that's pretty much the best thing, is to kind of go in, try it, and break it, and have it hurt. So we talked about what is Speak. So it's an acronym that really is the Sitecore Process Enablement and Accelerator Kit. You're not ever going to say that, really, so just call it Speak. The framework is we kind of talked about. It's really kind of a mix of Knockout, Backbone. I think Require.js is in there, kind of meshed together with a facade over top of it. So what the goal of Speak really was is really a framework for consistent interfaces for Sitecore apps. So Sitecore's goal, I believe in this, as I have interpreted it, is I want my interfaces to look the same. I want applications to kind of have that same consistency, that look and feel, so that we recognize it as Sitecore and we're not kind of all over the place with what we're going to be doing. So it's a bunch of layouts and components, and there's a business component library that has a lot of stuff. There's also some smidgens in a Speak folder of other renderings and controls, mostly data sources that you may tap into to copy from. But what you see is what you're going to get, right? The WYSIWYG approach. So think of it as layouts that you're plugging, controls into placeholders, essentially, is what Speak is. You're doing it through Sitecore Rocks. It's really Sitecore 7.1 on up to current day. And, it's really, you're not required to have knowledge of the underlying thing. Obviously, HTML and CSS are kind of a standard, right? But the idea is that you don't have to understand Backbone and Knockout to use this. But you know what? Having a working knowledge probably helps, especially if you're going to go outside of the controls that Sitecore's provided. So why the hell are we doing that? Why is Sitecore even doing the Speak thing, right? So one, we need to match up essentially what we're doing in today's world from a stack standpoint. Mm-hmm. So not that Sheer and doing some things with Sheer wasn't, But I think the stack with Speak is a little bit more modern. It's a little bit more what people are working with now. And even that stack is maturing, so I expect to see at least changes to Speak in the future to kind of keep pace. Sheer UI is being retired eventually. Now, there's a lot of stuff that's Sheer, still in Sitecore. I think it'll take them a while, but that is their definite goal, is to go, Sheer is done.
Mark, correct me if I'm wrong. The components built with Speak are MVC components.
Yes, everything is basically, when you take a look at a component, it's going to be a JavaScript script file, and we'll kind of look at that in a little bit, and really a HTML view that you would normally use in MVC, and a test JavaScript if you so choose the right option in Visual Studio, which would probably be a good idea. We won't be covering the tests here. Not that I don't like tests, because I do. But for sake of brevity, we're just going to kind of go pretty easy.
Cool. Very good.
Now it's demo time. So we're going to do two different things here. We're going to do an app that's going to show us the recently installed packages. And this is really going to be core Sitecore controls. I'm not going to do anything real custom here. Then I'm going to do an audit trail of sorts. And really, drinking from the fire hose is the best thing I could find. But really, we're going to do kind of this grading listing is really what we're going to do here. So I said I have an audit trail on here. Well, grades are kind of an audit trail, right? So it'll work out just fine. All right, so let's tap into this. Sitecore Rocks is essentially needed to do Speak. I'm sure you could find a way to not use Sitecore Rocks to do it.
I don't know if you can.
Why the hell would you?
Well, back in the original days, you couldn't. There were features that Sitecore Rocks had that native Sitecore didn't.
And I think that's still the case, but there's always somebody that will find a way. I'm telling that someone, I'm looking at you, someone, don't do it. Use Rocks. Rocks should be used not only for Speak, but it's a great tool to speed up development cycles, to get things done. There shouldn't be any question that this should be part of your tool belt. Applications go off to Sitecore Client Speak. And if you've seen any of my blogs I've done for Xenium, I did one for CSS. I got a couple more. So this is pretty much the site I use for like little blogging demo kind of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, let me take care of that. Let me take care of some business. So, don't do that. And I even said that in the blog. You really don't want to change the colors here, but I wanted to make a point about CSS. So, this may look familiar to the 3 people that have read the blog out of the 5 people that watch our show. So, this pretty much is a typical dashboard page. And when we take a peek at it, and I'm going to move things on and off and get you guys dizzy, here's that setup for that page. So I'm going to add, essentially, a new dashboard page. Actually, I want to do this first. Otherwise, this will show up as kind of a thing. So I'm actually going to add a folder here. My bad, folks. Do you know how you really can't do anything when you know somebody's watching? And is this you right now? There. Now we will add what we're supposed to. And we'll call it packages installed.
So here's my first question for you. How do you know you wanted Speak dashboard page and not the one below it that was dashboard page?
That is one of my pains, quite honestly. Looking at it, I'm not saying you can't use the other one. And off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you why. If you catch the LA Sitecore user group at the end of this month, you will see what I've been doing with Speak, actually, which will be a little bit more than this. So,
are you going to be in LA?
I am not.
Oh.
I'm going to be virtually in LA.
Ah.
And myself and Martin are going to be doing the demo, and I'm trying to set it up in a couple other places. So, yeah. So, stay tuned for that. But anyway, I digress. So, right now, so you can see we have the packages installed. If we go in here, the thing that we usually tend to do is we want to, like I said, it's like a layout, and we're going to design the layout. And you will see that after it takes its sweet time, I have absolutely nothing on this page. So I believe that your other template either has some defaults, or there is a template out there that will give you some defaults. We're going to make this really easy. So we're going to pick a basic layout. I'm going to go with the empty layout for 200. And then I don't want to like go. You would go up here and you would do the same thing. Oh, look at it, I jumped ahead. I want, control. I'm not doing that. What we're going to do to make this really easy, I have this dashboard already. I have this dashboard already. I'm going to have to do that a lot because it takes a while. And I have these lovely controls on here already that basically make up the core.
Yes.
So what we're going to do is we're going to copy those with the clipboard option when you right click. You can see I highlighted everything. Now I'm going to go back to the Utopian page, and I'm just going to go back to clipboard and I'm going to paste. And they're there. So now if I save this, I can actually go back out to my browser, and ta-da!
Look at that.
And you can see it is styled beautifully. Let me
It
try
is
to
pretty.
Let me try to read. Oh, I know why it's like that, actually. We want to add, like, CSS. We want to do different things with this. So what we really need to do here is add a page setting so it's kind of the glue that holds everything together for that page, which I didn't do before we looked at it. And that's another pain point. You're going, oh my God, everything's broke. No, I just forgot. So we'll save that again. And then we will hit. So you see the styles?
I do see the styles.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do this, dude.
That works.
It works perfectly, right? So
You have to add some styles.
You do. And you can add any style sheet you want under here. These are pretty straightforward things. It goes to a path just like you would with any kind of control or anything else that you're doing in Sitecore, right? So, and then page settings, like I said, it's kind of the glue that kind of helps connect that layout to everything that you may or may not put in underneath. And then obviously we've seen the layout already. Now, watch this light up.
Oh, it's so pretty.
There is one thing I got to do. See, it kind of defaults to this. You need to make it a full screen mode.
Yes.
Yeah, because that is ugly.
No, I just said it was so pretty.
That's not pretty. So, use full width. Right, so, and then you save everything and you come back out. And you're going to do this a lot. Get used to it. Get used to these tools down here. All right, now we're cooking with gas.
Multiple monitors, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, because otherwise I couldn't do this. Whoa! That took everything away. So screwing around. All right. We're back. So, that essentially is how easy it is to add a page. Yeah. So now we're going to actually create a way to look at our packages. So, there's one thing we're going to do here, and I kind of easy bake this. I'm going to steal it from Martha Stewart's oven. You like that I did that?
Yeah. Yes.
You don't
show us all how to look at our packages. Why?
What are you trying to say, Jamie? What are you trying to say? What we need to do here is we're going to add a query package. So that, or a query data source. And what this does for us, it allows us to use Sitecore queries. So I'm actually going to put this at page body. Perfectly fine. You can actually put this anywhere it makes sense from a standpoint of execution. You can put it in your application content, any placeholder. Avoid this one. I don't think that's the best practice. The page code. Leave page code alone. And because I break stuff. because that's what I do. I didn't have all the luck that everything working in there. That's probably for a reason. So make sure these kind of make sense a little bit, and then try to group them so you can see I have a page body with the dashboard. So we're just going to drag this one here. Of course, I want to move to data source rendering. All right, so we're going to pop in here, and we're going to pick a database. So obviously packages, for those of you who aren't aware, they're stored in the core database. So we're just going to go right to the core. And I'm going to ignore everything else on here because I don't care. So what I'm going to do now that I care again, is I'm going to put in a fast query. So it's in system, packages. Oh, yeah, that's right. Installation history. All big words that I'm typing. And then I'm going to do the thing with the thing here. Oh my God, look at I spelt it wrong.
Yes.
Cut. No, we're not cutting. We're keep going. That just proves I'm working without a net, kids. All right.
I'm impressed you remember the syntax.
Oh God, you'd be amazed, dude. You're not dealing with a rookie. Plus, I have it written down right above my camera, so that makes it really, really easy. Right?
I always have to copy and paste from one I've already got, and then adjust individually.
I would like people to think that I'm brilliant, and I just whip that out of my butt. No. And probably it's wrong anyway, so we're about to find out. So, throw that in, and then obviously this is really just going to gather the data for us, so we really need a way to display it. Sitecore provides this lovely list control. And the list control, contrary to popular belief, is only going to show your stuff, right? I mean, it's not going to do any logic for you of sorting. It has the availability of identifying sorting and other attributes, but your data source is going to take care of pretty much all the functionality of that and just kind of give back to the list control what the data is. So
the list control is a dumb renderer.
No, it's actually a pretty good control. I think there are some improvements that could be made to it because it is kind of limited. In my experience, I've had to work around it a couple of times. So it's good for what it does.
Okay.
How's that?
Sure. By dumb, I just meant that whatever you fed it, it was just gonna... No, I just meant that whatever you fed it, it was gonna spit out on a screen. It wasn't gonna really manipulate what you fed it.
No, and what we're gonna do here is we're gonna put this in the main. And I gotta get in camera. There. And what we're gonna do then, I'm gonna rename it because I hate list control 1. It just reminds me of like a Crystal Reports thing. So I'm gonna call this installed packages list because I really like to be wordy. So again, a best practice, be wordy. So we're gonna leave this here, but there's one thing we're missing before we can really go to town on this. We need actually to define what the list is going to take. So it's not that smart in the sense of, well, I'll just give it information and it knows what the hell to do with it, right? You actually need to let it know what's coming. So we're going to create some list control parameters, and we'll just do it right underneath the page settings here. Okay,
now wait a minute. I have a question for you, though.
I'll stop. Okay, yeah, go.
You put your installed packages list in application content.main.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that anywhere. How did you know there was an application content.main?
See, this is a pain again. So using the copy and paste methodology that I've been using for a long time, especially to whip these things out, I know there's an application content main. So really, if you question where you should put it, obviously it's just like placeholders, right? There's a hierarchy to the stack,
right?
And that basically is going to list out all the placeholders that are currently available.
Ah, okay, cool.
So I could have put underneath global header start button, but it wouldn't have made much sense.
Right.
And then,
Well, at least there was a list from you to choose from, and you didn't just type words and say, well, I hope this one exists.
Yeah, I'll just do this one. It might be there. No, I mean, yeah, so the list is there.
Okay.
These are pretty much kind of reserved page level, and obviously these are really the controls that are kind of included into that whole layout, and any controls that are going to be sub-layouts to that.
Right. Makes sense.
Now we're cooking with gas.
You've said that already.
Did I?
Yep.
Now we're cooking with nothing. So, I'm just going to call it the package list because that just is the right thing to do. You could have took the default. There's nothing wrong with the default. Again, not a best practice because that's not what I'm showing you here. So, there's some things you can do in the parameters. We're not going to cover that. The big thing, though, we're just going to do a detailed list. That's the one thing that we kind of want to go. And you can select these, actually, in the list control itself. So, everything here is up for grabs to inherit over. Right? Now I want to create some fields. Because what is a list without fields? An empty box. So, column field is what we want. So, and we're going to put in just a few. The one thing that I want to show is when this package was created. So there's actually a Sitecore relationship to the field that we want to associate with this. So we're going to create that. Bada bing, bada boom. I'm going to do some header text so we know what it is in the actual thing. Item created. And then the data field is going to be the created off the Sitecore, the double underscore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now we're charring the meat. See how you change that? We're going to add some more fields. So for this list control, there's one thing that we have to do. We have to actually attach a data source. And the data source is really going to be that parameter that we just put together. So, and you can ask questions as we go along, Jamie. I'm going to give you a lot of crap for doing it, but you know the drill, right? So, you're slowing things down, man. Actually, I am with my horrible coding today. Actually, I haven't written any code, so that's even sadder, isn't it? All right, so I put all the building blocks here together, and I have not tested. Now, I haven't done any custom code here. I've never touched this side. This is all straight Sitecore, out of the box, copy paste, fast query is probably the closest to code I wrote. We'll see if that actually works, if I didn't type it wrong. So we'll bring back this lovely page. You can see my green went away, so that's funny. Not funny, funny, strange. And you can see our list control, but no data. So obviously we probably have a problem here. So
maybe you just haven't installed any packages.
Oh, you know what I didn't do? Because I'm a moron. So I did, yeah, I did that. And then there's an items down here. You got to bind that. Just saying, I forgot. Now, the fact that I remembered that so quickly tells you if I've felt that before. I actually got to hit save, because if I don't hit save, the world isn't right. All right. So let's try this again. Oh my God, look at that. I actually installed Xblog. So if I had more that I installed on here, obviously it would show up. We can do things like sort these columns, blah, blah, blah. But this is right out of the box, and it took us only like 2 hours to do this because it's me. Right? So you can actually do this, and I actually did this in practice for this, which meant absolutely nothing at this point, in about 20 minutes. Right, start to end, and just ripping through it. And then going back and figuring out that I spelled something wrong. So, pretty easy to do. Now, if you stay within these confines of the controls and you use the bindings, you got to be careful with the bindings too. Some things are still late binding, which means a combo box is a great example. Like if you change that thing, the other things may not populate the way you want them to. So there's a little bit more you have to do from a JavaScript standpoint to make those work. But for the most part, this is how the world of speak functions. Right? So there you go. That's done. Are we done yet? Oh, wait, I got another one to do. We talked about drinking from the fire hose, so here we go. And this one I'm going to kind of whip through a little bit faster, so don't cry, because we got another one. All right.
Okay.
So I'm going to leave that there because why not? And we're going to add a new folder not a field, because I can talk. And we're going to call this one Top Students. And this is that audit trail thing we talked about at the beginning. I don't know. It just seemed like the right thing to do. And plus, I took a MongoDB university class, so I already had the JSON, so why not? So, and what we've really done for this is I just whipped up a really, really quick API interface kind of sorting thing, right? So that we're going to get the top students out of here, right? So basically, we're just using Web API, RESTful services going to get our stuff. It's going to return JSON. We're going to interpret it into stuff. Obviously, your integrations can get a lot more complex. We're keeping this down to, some reasonable time, kids. Can't do everything. Top settings. Now we're going to add another dashboard. You want me to add the other dashboard page and just really kind of go wild with this, Jamie?
Do it.
I know you want me to. All right, I'll do it. I don't care. Because the worst that'll happen is I just go to the Betty Crocker.
Wait, you're going to pick the different dashboard page?
Yeah. I'm going to do it, dude.
Oh, man.
I'm going to do it. It's coming right out of the business component library.
We're doing it live.
All right, I got to figure out what to call this. Let's
Except
call it
that really it's not live because we're recording this.
Yeah, it's live to us. For everybody else, it's just crap. All right. So all right. All serious. So it actually defaulted some things for you.
Ooh,
right? I wasn't
fancy.
full of it like everybody thought I was. I just couldn't remember because I'm old. So if we take a look at our layout for this, it will have some magic beans in it. Everything we essentially copied over from the original dashboard, right? And the right layout. So I didn't use the empty layout here because the template was smarter than me.
Yes.
So I am not as smart as a template. There's a meaning for everyone.
So it's sort of the difference between a empty MVC project, which is what you started with, and this one is more like a pre-baked MVC project.
Well, yeah. And
the equivalent of.
Yeah, exactly. And the hint really came with branches, right? And branches in Sitecore really is kind of this hierarchical compilation of defaults for love and prosperity.
Yes. Still, I could come up with some better naming for them.
For branches?
Well, no, for like the speak-dashboard page perhaps should say empty dashboard page or blank dashboard. You know, right? Like, people understand what empty and blank mean. I don't know what a speak dashboard page is compared to a dashboard page.
Branches.
But it's not in the name, man.
I know. Well, great feedback. And guys, as you use this stuff, don't be afraid to reach out to somebody at Sitecore and go, hey, this name is confusing.
Right.
Or why can't I put a button inside of the list control to bubble up through? Because they will answer you. They answered mine. So share and share alike, right? That's kind of like the whole community aspect of things. So
sure,
definitely,
that's how it gets better.
Exactly. So I'm sure there was a reason they did that. You got to remember this is still a maturing kind of thing going on.
Absolutely.
So. All right. So now we have our thing. So we skipped a couple of steps, which is completely awesome. I don't have to copy and paste nothing. So now we're going to do really some custom stuff. And I'm not going to write code. I already wrote it. So we're just going to utilize, basically a student data. Ignore this. That was something I was playing with. Here's our actual rendering. We're calling it top students list. We're basically going to list out the top students. And then I have what's called a page code script, right? So in here, we're able to put in this page code script file name. And we're going to do that. Think of this as the glue that holds, think of it as the home base for all of your components in a standpoint of being able to reference them. Be careful. You don't necessarily need one. We didn't use one on the last one, right? But you need to be careful a little bit of not trying to overload this script and to utilize your component scripts as much as possible. Again, not a best practice. To me, common sense. The page script should really be kind of for those universal things that you need to do for a page. Again, your level of reuse and in your architecture and you're planning this out is crucial to what you're going to do for each of these pages and a page code script. In our example, we're just going to put everything in there, kind of, so that we can reference other components. Right? And let me get to that real quick. And you can put your Sitecore version. I'm not going to do it. So, what this really looks like, this is going to look a lot like require.js, right? So we're basically defining what Sitecore is from an entity perspective and making sure that it's there. And then you can see here we have lovely libraries for Sitecore. We're extending the definition here to include some new things to do on initialized. And we're going to update some lists. So you can see here, I have a listener essentially, listening for a trigger. And we're going to set some items on a student control that we have not yet added. And I'm actually going to call a get items for the student control. Right? Can't do this from component to component directly. Cleanly. So the way to do this is to kind of come up and back down. Make sense?
Yep.
All right. I'm sure there's a better way to do it and much smarter people, but I have not had the success that I would love to have from component to component communication. So, all right. So we've included our page code, and now we want to essentially add some components. So I'm going to make this really easy because you guys saw me create stuff. So I basically am going to move my good friend data up into top students. I'm actually going to move it. If we wanted to create one of these, we could create it from here, or we can create it here. If you do it here, you're going to have to wire it up anyway. If you create it from here, you can use Sitecore rocks from an add item perspective and use the templates there to get the right component. And it actually wired it all up for you. It's really kind of cool. It's kind of nice. It's quick. As you can see, this component has a parameters listing with some data in it that basically just has an items collection, which is a string. And this is associated, drum roll, to this bad boy right here. This coupling. And if we take a look at the view, listen, there's not much here. I'm not that bright. However, you can see that I've kind of dipped into the knockout arena to bind this. And I'll show you that a little bit in the JavaScript. I'm actually using observable. At some point, it was written or told or something, and I wasn't present for this. So that you really don't want to go and tap into the underlying technologies, and you want to stay into the facade. And now here's where playing outside of the sandbox, you have to make a choice. You can either stay within the facade, or and try to get those bindings to work and do all that, or you can be a jerk like myself and just kind of do this, make sure you add knockout and get your observable array. Again, I don't know if this is wrong. I don't know if it feels right. It feels so right. But essentially we're creating this observable array, and we're also listening for a trigger of top students. So when that observable array changes, we are going to magically, because of this data binding and the data bindings in here, populate onto our HTML view, right? So, well, right now we want to add top students and student data, which I didn't show you. I'm going to do that right now because, so you can see I really don't have much here. Again, intelligence, a primary factor to that. Oh, I do want to point out this thing though. I'm going to go just a smidgen off tangent. You see this UNV right here? I made that. I made that. When you do custom controls and you want to essentially put them in their own, I don't want to use this word sandbox again, in their own trough. Seemed like the right word. So you're going to need to change the resolve script for the Speak client. And patch file is the best way to do this. You could do this directly. Don't. That's why we have patch files. But you can see here that I've actually added a category called UNV. And I'm pulling everything underneath this. I'm doing a deep, deep, deep traversing of the tree. I don't know. Like it was really deep to begin with. And I'm going after basically all my JS, CSS, right? So this is going to pull everything out of there so that it can reference it. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So really I'm requiring a script, student JS, in that category, which is actually located right here. You know, and we're rendering this whole control as a class of SC student data. Now if I go into this, really simple, and I did this in the view, not realizing when I did it in the view. And I really, and this is a quote, and I said to myself, self, let's just go with it. So I'm going to leave it in the view. You kind of want to have this up here probably, but nah, it still works. Again, probably not a best practice. So I defined the items collection related to this. We're going after my API of getting the top students. When we're done processing, we're actually going to set our collections, and we're going to set one of those triggers for the change students to kick off the magic that's going to happen between the cross component communication. Right?
Right.
And then you can see the things that I referenced here, student data, and there's our class control, right, that's going to find to be able to associate all this lovely goodness to that control.
Yes.
All right. So now that I've bored the hell out of everybody, let's go ahead and put, the stuff on here. Wow, there's going to be a lot of beeps in this one, man. The cool thing is, too, when you make magical controls, like magical fruit, you can actually do, the search, and you can see your stuff show up, which is very, very cool, right?
So does it just show up automatically?
It's part of that categorization a little bit. So, and then having it in the right spot, it actually traverses. So I think it's a combination of the two. I think they will show up, but obviously they're not going to work without the categorization.
Right.
The way we wrote them. So we're going to add this. I'm going to keep it at the page body because I like danger. All right, then we're going to add the top student list because we really kind of want to see these guys. And I do have to change that, and I'm actually going to do it this way. And I'm actually going to do it this way. All right. So I'm going to bind to that data source anyway, just for fun. I like danger. I'm actually going to change where this shows up to application main. And student top list 1 is very stupid, so I'm going to get rid of the 1 because I'm the only one here. Why do I need a number?
Does this get processed top down or bottom up?
I've been noticing it's been top down.
Okay, so like your student data will render before your dashboard or process if it's a data source, so it might not render, but
in my experience, in my pain, yes, that is what I found. Is that completely 100%? You can take that to the bank. Nothing I say is 100%.
Okay.
Which is sad. We're even wasting time then, right? But no, I found that it is. I found with that dependency that I try to do, that we're finding that being the way it is. So we'll take a quick look at this magical thing. Oh, you know what we didn't do here? Do you remember?
The full width.
Yeah. Oh, we saw results. So do you remember where to do that? I want to see if you're paying attention.
Right click on top students, and somewhere there's a design something. Maybe it's on your page settings.
It's actually right here in the edit, in the actual item itself.
Oh, okay.
Pretty close, so I'll give you credit for paying attention.
Okay.
Because there was a lot of people probably screaming, double click! Or nobody was saying anything because nobody really cared. So if we do this again, and you see the full, now you see my students in a lovely UI I put together here, folks. This is going to win awards right here. So,
wow, the best student only had an 89?
This is a very college.
Seriously.
So essentially, we're pulling back the top 10 here. Yeah, 10, it looks like. So out of that control, and then we're rendering it out. So if we were to change things in the JSON, obviously, you know, we could refresh and do all sorts of great stuff here. But you can see that it doesn't take that thing. And you could actually bust these components up even a little bit more. You could tie them together if you wanted to. But obviously, the more you tie together, the more coupling you have, which is something that we don't like. We like to keep things decoupled so we can move them around and reuse. I would even argue that the top students list probably shouldn't be a rendering like that. It should probably be a list control, and you should utilize that. But then it wouldn't be a really straight out of the box, I'm out of the sandbox demo now, would it? So,
right.
Again, business-like issues, small issues, real small issues, really quick ways to solve them. And so, you know, the great thing is we raise up that listener. Now, you have to be careful if you're a knockout backbone guru. You're probably going, well, this on is much like this listen on. Don't use this listen on. I found that out the hard way. You blow up scripts. It's really kind of cool. It makes the Chrome developer tools look like a Christmas tree. Yeah, so, you know, bypass that. Stick with this. Like I said, I'm kind of going outside the box with Knockout a little bit. And with that, you know, when we talk about special controls and everything else, you can create wrappers, you can do different things. And now you're kind of outside of that core business component library. But we'll end it there because I think we got the gist of what we wanted to get across. All right, so what really made me hurt out of this whole thing, you know, the custom scenarios, this is very simple. Go get information, spit it out, right? So we didn't do anything really crazy here. We weren't doing transformations between controls. I mean, there's a million things you can do. And I'm not even going to pretend that this was a difficult thing, but this is really more for you guys to kind of look at and go, well, that was pretty easy. I should try it. So, you know, custom scenarios really going outside of that really hurt, but it made me understand what Sitecore was trying to do a little bit better, or what I think Sitecore was trying to do a little bit better. Also made me, I'm not a big knockout backbone guy, so I had to learn, you know, which is always a good thing. That goes into digging into tech I wasn't supposed to really go, right? So this on versus this listen to, which I mentioned before. The lack of documentation, and I don't want it to sound like a slam. I think this is a pretty good beginning stage of the future direction for Sitecore's application framework, right? But, you know, the documentation can be improved. Right, and I'm not trying to slam anybody who worked on the document. I appreciate what's out there because it helped quite a bit as I was going through it. But there's just times I was looking for something, I'm going, oh shit, it's not here. So,
right,
I had to go and do what I needed to do. So best practices. Again, nothing I did here is a best practice. I threw some things out. Maybe they may work for you, maybe they not. There's really no style guide either as far as, you know, what we should and shouldn't do. Again, if it doesn't hurt to maintain it, I think it's a good way to go. We need to learn how to write our JavaScript a little bit better as a population, and I think that would probably help tremendously as well. Bindings, yeah. You know, so I mentioned that combo box control. You just got to realize that sometimes the bindings, even though you bind them, they're just not going to automatically do well. One of the things you can do to cross-communicate is use a rule. I have not had success with that, but I think that might be the proper way, and that's where you can get maybe the late bindings kind of to refresh the control and resurrect again of sorts. It's going to take you some time. I found, you know, I could have did what I did in a simple web page much quicker. The stuff that I'm going to be showing at the upcoming Sitecore user groups, I could have did definitely with the native stack much quicker. The thing I'm getting with the facade over it, I'm getting the Sitecore facade to make sure that I'm kind of staying within the lines a little bit. So it's going to take time to learn it. Be prepared for that. I've heard from other developers too that it's hard to estimate because they don't know how long something's going to take, especially the more complex it is.
Yep. Just
be aware of that. Don't overpromise. And the more you work with it, I think like everything else, the more you're going to be able to estimate and do what you need to do. Third-party controls. list control, like I said, is great, but there are some things it just can't do. I started to look at JQ Grid. I know I heard somebody wrapped Slick Grid around to use it in Speak. I won't mention who that is, but you know, so you can take things in and expand it. There's really no party foul there to do that. So now, I don't want this to be all doom and gloom, right? So I think there's going to be drastic improvements as releases commence. So as we see new versions of Sitecore come out, I think Speak will improve, especially if the feedback comes in. So when you see things about why is this named so odd, that's the feedback that Sitecore really needs to hear, and you should owe it to yourself as a human or not to let Sitecore know. Custom controls are not something that you shouldn't do. You should absolutely do them, but you need to think about them before you start doing it. We whipped this stuff together pretty quick. Like I said, it was pretty simple, but when you start talking about complexity, you really want to orchestrate out how these things are going to interconnect, how the relationships are going to be. It's a full architecture. It's just not something you're going to throw together. I used Knockout. I don't know if I should have. Apparently, some say no, some say, whatever. So, always try to use the Speak facade and the framework on top of that prior to going in to use the underlying technologies. Think about that coupling aspect that we kind of mentioned earlier. If Sitecore ever changes the pure fundamentals of what's going on, your stuff may be broken, and you may have to do a complete rewrite. Whereas if you're using the facade, the tendency for Sitecore is to keep those APIs and those interfaces and those connectors alive, at least through some kind of transition to another version, if they do change the underlying structure. So I haven't had much success with it. I could be an idiot, but definitely kind of think about that before you break it. And then Sitecore's actually using this, and they're you've seen it in the new product, obviously, that you're using Speak. Part of the MVP Summit, we got to see stuff going on. I got stuff shared with me, which is really kind of cool. It made me feel better about myself, which is the most important thing out of the whole MVP Summit, that I felt good about me. No, I really felt decent that I saw what they were doing, and the pains that they were going through were similar to the other developers. So they're feeling the pains, they're fixing the pains, they're drinking their own champagne. So which is good. Again, that's going to come around to this just getting better and better. All right, now the big thing: where can I get help? These are really small, so we're going to post a slide deck so you can enjoy that shuffling GIF and these links. My coworker, Julia Gavrilova, wonderful blog post, and if you don't know Julia, you need to change that, because quite honestly, she's brilliant, and you can tell by what she put together here. It's definitely one of these Speak articles I think that everybody should be reading. And I'm a little biased. I work with her, and she's brilliant. But if you're not reading this, there's something wrong with you. I'm just going to say it right out. Jakob Christensen, obviously, the guy behind all this. So there's a bunch of articles, a bunch of videos that you probably need to look at. Martina, our good friend Martina, put together a lot of things through Master Sitecore that you should also be looking at, that add on top of those other videos. She's put a lot of time and effort into that, and I'm still envious of her little recording studio at home. Just saying. And Anders Loeb. So he's got some great articles of creating some simple data source components using the list control. Definitely worth the read. And then Goran Halverson did this Google Maps Speak control, which is really cool. So he's taken those externals. That's definitely custom. That's not out of the box anywhere. And there are articles coming up all the time. If you're on the Sitecore chat Slack community, you join the, I'm trying to make sure I get the naming right, the Sitecore Speak chat room, and people are posting out there all the time, or lately, There's been one individual, I can't remember your name, and I apologize, but he's putting out a series. I think he's on step 5, putting together a simple speak application. So definitely worth checking out. It didn't make the list because obviously the slide deck was done before that, but highly advised. Actually, it's going to be right below you right now. There you go. So, Jamie, man, that's it. This cop is pushing this. You know that middle rail? If he falls down, dude, he's gone.
Yeah, that's saying. No good. Don't touch the third rail.
Don't touch the third rail. Man, how many times have you heard that in your lifetime? So, that's what I got, bud.
Well, very good. Thank you. Very good. You have spoken about speak.
Spoken about again. Speak. Very carefully worded. Not so much. All right.
All right. What's next?
I think that's it, man, for a thing. So, I don't know. I think, whoa. Excuse me.
You all right?
No, I'm fine. It's just a minor flesh wound. So, all right. We decided to wrap this up from a feedback standpoint a little bit, from a time versus a community standpoint. I mean, I think it's been beneficial to the community, and I'm happy for that. I think it's kind of run its course for the time being. Like Jamie said, we're gonna shut the door on it for a little bit. But the guests, the other 7 guests, Jamie, besides you and I, that have been on this show have been tremendous. I couldn't hope for a better lineup starting something out of a project like this. So I like to thank everyone who's been a guest on the show. I like to thank the people who've commented, who've watched, and Jamie yourself. This originally was your idea, and we got to carry it through 9 episodes, and I think that's something.
Absolutely.
I think we're absolutely going to live on in some way, shape, or form. I don't think it'll be a podcast anymore, but it was definitely. I had a lot of fun doing it.
Yes.
I think you could tell we were pretty stiff through the whole thing. Sense of humor really not there. It's kind of dry. Pretty pathetic. So I like to thank everyone for letting us kind of share what we wanted to share. We always felt that this was the community's vehicle, that we were just kind of the dingbats that were going to put it together and kind of showcase it. Speaking on behalf of myself, Jamie, not you. So it's been fun, and I thank you guys for sharing, and keep sharing and keep doing what you're doing.
Absolutely. You're going to make me cry.
Don't cry. It's only a damn podcast, dude. It's not like we're retiring and gonna go hit the beach in Tahiti. Well, that'd be nice.
That would be nice. Can we have that instead?
We didn't make enough money on this, Jamie, to retire in Tahiti. We've actually made no money. Which is fine.
I certainly want to echo Mark's thanks to everyone who certainly was on the show. You were all very wonderful. We thank you for putting up with us. Mark is the one who made all of the magic work. He's right in that it was my idea. After that, he pretty much did everything from editing to figuring out the technology to writing the scripts to lining up guests, handling the Twitter, the email, the Facebook, the website, the hosting for the website, all of it. So Mark, thank you very, very much. I
do want to interrupt your thought one there. I want to make sure that we give a proper shout out to Cam, because without episode 1, I don't know how far we would have gotten.
Well, and specifically without Cam being the most patient person in the world for episode 1. We shot episode 1 over 2 different nights because the first night we completely got no recordings out of. And Cam was super awesome to not have a problem to say, hey, let's do it tomorrow instead, too, also. And I guess we should probably thank Cam's family for allowing that to happen also.
Yeah, definitely. And if you don't know Cam, there's something wrong with you too. Cam, I think he's got Rainbow out now. Unicorn, obviously, is what we talked about in episode 1. He's got a new incarnation of that.
Diagnoga? I use Diagnoga.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, reach out to Cam, tell him thanks. And we thank him very, very much. Because I think without that patience in the front, we would have been done pretty quick. And we thought we had a good thing going with the pilots we did, which, my God, you'll never see those. But, I think putting it in practice, and I think without Cam being so patient, we probably would have been 2 episodes out.
Yes. All of our guests were wonderful, though. You said it very well. We could not have asked for a better batch of guests.
Yep.
Sorry, and watchers.
And watchers, yeah. I keep interrupting you. I'm gonna stop now.
I really that's all I've got. I'd like to end with until next time. Don't forget to publish. But how about we just say don't forget to publish?